Hey Sinners, you're listening to Sinful Cuts, the podcast that takes a look at the wild, weird, and wonderful world of horror. We take a deep dive into some of your favorite movies, possibly uncover some hidden gems. Sometimes we even get some stinkers. Thank you so much for joining us. We truly love having you here. Please sit back, take a listen, and let's get our scare on.
Hey Sinners, I'm Shannon.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Sinful Cuts.
Yeah, horror month. Is that folklore?
It is now. It is for this episode, at least.
Is that folklore or is that just constipation?
Well, if you've seen this movie, you know, maybe that'll the creature design that can come into play. At least that's where I think you got that from. So today we're talking about 2017's The Ritual.
Oh, I love this movie so much. This is a yearly watch for me because this is the cross section of folk horror, which I love, and creature feature, which I love. Because a lot of folk horror, oh, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't make a blanket statement like that. But folk horror tends to be more like human interaction and like, you know, human comeuppance. You don't tend to get a lot of like creature action in there. So when I get that, oh boy, it's like you got your chocolate and my peanut butter.
The good old Nutella and fluff.
And I mean, look, I feel like you love this movie as well, but I don't know that for a fact. So I'm really excited to start talking about it.
Rob would have loved this place. He's a good man. The best of us.
You know, they have walking trails in England. Pubs.
Come on, man. Where's your soul?
It's twisted. It's twisted.
All right, yep. Easy. Look, we go southwest through here. We cut the journey in half.
What, through the forest?
Yeah, why not?
Should have gone to Vegas.
Oh, you'd have found something to fall over in Vegas too, mate. Now, is it me, or is it really quiet in here?
It's been gutted. Could be hunters out here.
A bait.
Possibly.
Or it's the bit they don't show you in the nature documentary.
It's a warning.
We shouldn't be here.
Where the hell are we, Hutch?
We should pitch the tents.
This is ridiculous, man.
Luke, you're getting soaked.
You hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything. Come on.
So we're going to talk about it then or not?
It was a nightmare, Phil.
Well, what happened to you then?
We got spooked and we had bad dreams. All right?
I woke up last night.
Look at this.
Nothing has done that to you. You've done it to yourself.
Why do you have to deny everything
Because
I say?
I do not value your judgment.
We need to be working together, man.
What the fuck is that?
Fucking hell, we don't know where we are.
So we got the Adam Neville source material. Did you ever read the novel?
I never read the novel, no. I heard it is very, maybe a little bit different than it portrays to be. But But I am curious enough to read it, though.
Let me put it to you this way. It's different enough that the choices made for the movie are actually really, really solid choices. So I'll talk a little bit about it without spoiling. I know you know how the movie ends, but I won't spoil the novel because it is different enough that you will get a lot of enjoyment out of reading it. Let's just say like the big beats are there, but a lot of the smaller decisions they're different enough that it won't be a completely new experience for you reading the book, but it'll be different enough that you're really, really going to enjoy it. I mean, look, I'll tell you the first one right off the bat is that there's no murder in the beginning. It's 4 university friends that decide to go to Sweden on this hike because Luke, Rafe Sproul's character, Luke, he's kind of like the he's like the ne'er-do-well of the group. Like they all have jobs, they're all kind of carrying on with their lives and starting families and have careers, and he's kind of still like he's the guy who's still stuck in his uni days.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like at all. I couldn't wrap my head around it. It felt so foreign to me, of being someone who was in their 30s going, I think I really need to get a job. So that's why they end up going, that's why they end up on that trail in the book. So like I said, there's like little differences. So the choice of making their trek to that unfortunate forest in the movie to pay, tribute to their murdered friend is a really smart decision. All right, how do we get these characters from point A to point B? What's better than, I believe his name was Ray. This is what Ray was talking about, and this is what he wanted to do. So even though we were kind of making fun of him in the pub for it, and all of us were like, there's no fucking way we're going, on a hike in the wilderness. It makes sense how they do it as a tribute, and boy, oh boy, they should have gone to Ibiza.
They should, yes. I think the character's name was Robert. That was
Sorry, Robert. You're right.
Yeah, Paul Reed was the actor who got obviously Cinners were spoiling this movie as always. But quick, if you want, I'll read the quick little synopsis for you. You kind of did already, but just the official one. A group of old college friends reunite for a trip to a most dangerous country in Europe, Sweden, as you said, where they encounter a menacing presence that is stalking them. So it starts off with the hike. There's like a murder in the very beginning, and I think that was really smartly used because it does make for great cinematography later on. Because obviously, watching your friend get murdered, I would think would definitely leave a mark. Would definitely leave a little bit of trauma, which, it clearly goes into Luke's psyche quite a bit.
Yeah.
And this creature, which we'll get to a little bit more in a second, but this creature, clearly takes full advantage of it. How it knows, how, there's definitely some questions that are left, for you to, just ponder about, basically. But it definitely uses that to its advantage while it stalks all the men.
There's so many great things about this movie. There's so many layers, is what I'm trying to say. There's so many layers to this movie. Because you have, and it's funny. It's a little bit like what we were talking about with Emily Hughes with Midsummer the previous week. This is a completely different movie. Sure, they're both in the folk horror, arena, but where Ari Aster had a film that was almost like a play because there was so much going on in the foreground and there was so much going on in the background. Like there's so many elements that you could just rewatch that movie over and over again. This movie's completely different. It's all of the action is in the foreground, but there's a sense of dread in the background because, to your point, they're getting stalked, there's something out there, and it's this incredible shot on location in the Carpathians, right? The Carpathian Mountains in Romania.
Yeah.
And when they shot it, it was, all of the foliage was dead, and it was just all those stick-like, needle dagger-like trees, which are so terrifying. And the way they're layered on top of each other that you can see into the distance, but you really can't see into the distance.
Yeah, it's so dense.
That's so dense. It's so terrifying. Why people go in nature, I'll never figure it out. It's so terrifying.
But but to go further a little bit into what the creature does before you even see the creature. So we'll get to that, and I think in a second. But they first come across, and I keep hearing a couple different things. I feel like somebody said it was a bear, which I thought originally it was. Some people say it was a deer, and other people say it was a moose. So but it definitely looks like more of like a stag looking creature. But either way, you see this creature picked up many feet in the air, like well above the men's head level, and just impaled on a tree, still bleeding. So it's just like, what the fuck could possibly do that? But what do, Sinners? They go forward.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this looks terrible. Let's go deeper into the woods.
I mean, I've only been lost in the lingerie section of Loehmann's, so I can't fully appreciate being lost in the woods. But that alone was terrifying for me as a young child. But it's just that I put myself in their shoes. And when you're surrounded 360 degrees by wilderness and you have no compass, or the compass isn't working and you have no sense of direction because this isn't where you live, the sense of dread and the sense of hopelessness. And I know this is just a movie, but it gives me such anxiety of putting myself in their shoes, of just being like, well, pick a direction. What does it matter? Because we're screwed. It's like, I think about it a lot because I spend a lot of, I don't do the woods, and I don't, although I love nature, but I don't do the woods and all that, but I do the water. I do the water a lot. I live on Long Island, and, it's hard to live here and not, find yourself on the water. But, once you lose sight of land, and, you have a general sense of like, okay, we came from that direction, land's over there. But if you're out fishing and you're 2 miles offshore and you like truly lose sight of land, and then you're distracted. And then if someone were to say, where's shore? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so dying. Yeah. It's so insanely terrifying. So what I'd like to do for this movie, if it's okay with you, Shannon, because unfortunately, although this movie is phenomenal and everyone should see it, there's not a lot of supplemental material about it. There's not a lot of... Yeah, there's the trailers on YouTube. There's a couple of articles from like Slate Film and Collider where I cobbled together some things, but it's very, very sparse. Like, this movie has not really been deconstructed, and it will eventually, because it's highly regarded. Eventually, we'll start to get the articles on it, maybe some, videos and stuff like that. But I'd like to kind of go through it in chronological order, if you're cool with that. And we can just kind of like unpack it as we go along.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So you had mentioned, we start off in London. We got we've got the university friends. We got 5 university friends. Robert and Luke go in to buy a bottle of booze for Luke. And Luke gives off, he's not necessarily like he is in the novel, where he's kind of like the guy who can't get it together. But you can tell that the uni friends are like a step beyond where he is,
I took it as like he's just like a late bloomer. Like, yeah, they're discussing they apparently always went on like a bro trip, and but they're saying like, listen, like I can't do pub crawls anymore. Like, they're getting older. It wasn't as appealing to them to go, party rage.
Well, they all have kids too now, except for Luke.
Right. Right. That's what I mean. Like they're married. If yeah, their life perspective has changed a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all. Yeah, they can't do like spring break in Cancun anymore. Yeah.
I definitely, there, I saw Luke. Let's just say, I definitely saw Luke. So, unfortunately, Robert gets killed in a robbery, and I love this scene for what it is, because it's that whole, you're making decisions on the fly or you're not making decisions, more importantly. So Luke does, the robbers don't see him, and he's able to kind of duck around the corner and hide, and he grabs a bottle, and he's having that internal, should I or shouldn't I, in his head of, well, here's my friend, but I'm scared. And it's that whole, what does it mean to be masculine? What does it mean to live up to the moment? And Robert also makes his decisions of not giving his wedding ring, and that's
Right.
what instigates, unfortunately, his murder, because he won't give his wedding ring up. And it's and that again plays into, what are these decisions of masculinity that we make, and then the consequences that unfold because of that. Luke makes a decision which is viewed upon, especially by oh, for fuck's sake,
Like the fight or flight.
his friend, god damn it,
Robert.
not Robert, the guy who he ends up in the shack with.
Oh, I think that's Dom.
Dom.
Yeah, Sam Troughton, I believe.
Yeah, so Dom very much is like, you were a coward. You should have helped Robert out. Robert makes his decision not giving the wedding ring, which, he's standing up for himself, and he gets murdered because of it. So it's these questions of like, what does it mean in that moment? Through the male lens of, do you stand up for your ground? Well, one guy did, and he fucking died for it. And then one guy didn't, but now he has to live with the shame. And it's, it's for the most part, it's unspoken until we get deeper into the movie. And then it becomes very much spoken about. I mean, it literally becomes a fight between Dom and Luke, but that's what that's what transpires, and that's the the catalyst for getting those guys out into the wilderness, which made a lot of sense for me. It's unlike the novel, but it rang true.
Yeah, I think it was great for a cinematic perspective.
Yeah.
Especially like, because basically like you see the scene, like, Robert gets brutally murdered in they keep calling it a convenience store, but it was a liquor store.
And to have it happen on a busy street, basically what felt like it was like, maybe 10 o'clock at night. I mean, there's hustle and bustle all over. It felt very real. Like, these are the way things happen.
Sometimes, yeah. Like they would just walked in and like, right. It was just like, they were just like chit chatting away, like not even paying attention, not noticing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they just see the girl cowering in the corner, like obviously a little bloodied and everything, and fucking frightened as shit.
Hell.
And then now you're like, what? Wait, what's happening? And then the I guess they were in the back, maybe looking for a safe, I guess is what I assume.
Yeah.
The robbers then come to light, and then they're like, oh shit.
Right. I mean, just that penny drop of, oh, we've walked right into it, and now we're in it. Like, there's no ramp up,
Yeah. And now what?
I love the way that scene is staged, because it felt very real.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope, Sinners, I hope no one ever gets in that situation. But if you do find yourself, it's almost like a car accident. You're on the expressway, and all of a sudden you just see, the car to your right is just veering across traffic, and everything's immediate. You don't get a buildup. It's just, you're in it now, and the decisions that you make in those nanoseconds could be the decisions of life or death.
Yeah. In this case, it was quite literally so.
Yeah. So David Bruckner directed this movie off a script from Joe Barton, and right away, the first time I watched it, when we went from that convenience store and poor Robert gets murdered, and then David sees it and it's in that stark fluorescent white lighting, and then it's like smash cut, and he's waking up in the tent in Sweden. That was masterful. I mean, that was just straight up masterful, the way that they transition locations and move the story 6 months down the road, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
And it made sense. You're just like, okay, yeah, now he's here. And you know, clearly it's still with him, you know, and even when they make the well, like, what do you call it? Like a little like a vigil, I guess, in a way.
like like almost in like a cairn, I think it is, like a stone little cairn, and they put his picture on top of it.
Yeah, so that they do, and then I think Hutch pours out the rest of the liquor. So it was like which right there, because like, you know, nobody's saying anything. It's like their moment of silence, but right there's just like words unsaid that whether or not they blame Luke.
It's
You know,
so heavy.
yeah, like I know you said that you know, Robert did make his own decision to not give the wedding ring. And it's possible like if he just gave it to them, they would have been caught maybe the next day and he would have gotten his ring back. Yeah, you know what I mean? But then we wouldn't be in a horror movie, would we?
But yeah, so yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So thank you for your service, Robert. But I felt really mean to say it. But
You really have it in for Robert.
he was probably a lovely fella. But you could tell that there's definitely words unsaid. And Luke is absolutely carrying this with him. And I know we kind of brought it up before, but that's going to lead into the cinematography that we're going to get when you start seeing the liquor store molded into the woods, which I just thought that was such a brilliant way to exacerbate the trauma that he's still dealing with.
People who haven't seen this film, that alone, the production design alone is worth seeing the movie for, because it's so clever. It works so well. It makes sense. It doesn't take you out of the film. It actually adds to it. You know, I mean, you're really truly in Luke's psyche. But yeah, I mean, the production design and the sound design in this movie, because don't forget, I mean, we're doing a lot of outdoor shooting. We're doing a lot of on location shooting, and they're using those natural sounds of the forest, you know, branches snapping and wind whistling through dead trees. And it's so atmospheric and effective that it's just, I'm like, oh, like I said, it's a yearly watch for me, because this movie is so incredibly well made. And the decisions that they move, it's an hour and a half. I think it's an hour and 36 minutes.
Yeah, it's a very standard cut of a movie. So it's all paced very, very well, I think. Because it definitely quickly goes, you know.
Right? I mean, the economy of the choices made and the economy of storytelling works so beautifully well in this film, because just like we're talking about, we go directly from the unfortunately the demise of Robert in the liquor store robbery to now we're in the tent in Sweden, and Luke opens it up, and then we got this beautiful vista, and they're on the side of the rolling hills, and you see the forest in the background, and it's so expansive and gigantic. When we were in this tiny little liquor store a moment before, and there was so much dread and so much you were kind of like claustrophobic and so much anxiety. And now you're in this wide open space, but you can feel the heaviness of Luke's inactions.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have their little, they have their memorial for Robert. And then, then it's okay. Like, let's trek on and get to the lodge, and then we can have our steaks, and we can have our scotch, and we can have our cigars, and actually do what we want to do. But I felt I felt the heaviness so much, and I felt that, okay, these four friends are doing this for Robert as tribute, but I didn't get the sense that there was ever going to be another lads trip after this one. They were going through the motion of Robert, but you could tell that their friendships were disintegrating because of what had happened.
Yeah, like the barbecues with the families probably would have continued, and maybe leaving Luke out, or probably only one of them, maybe Hutch, because Hutch was the one who seemed to take charge of the situation. He was the one that made a decision to go through the woods as a shortcut because Dom tripped and hurt his knee.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh yeah, we have the 12-hour, or I think it was like 12 to 14-hour trek back around the mountains. Instead, fuck it, let's just go through that thick woods.
Sinners never cut through the woods.
Never do that, especially one with a bunch of sticks. Fucking just. Well, I don't know. We'll get into it.
Never cut through the woods.
Don't do that.
I tried to cut through the mall. You know how that story ended.
Yeah.
No cuts. No cuts. All right. So now we have, and you know, to your point, you know, we got our four lads together, and they make this impetuous decision because Dom's a pain in the ass, and they knew, you know, they knew before they even got on the plane that he was going to be the one who was going to slow him down. He was going to be the one who was going to get hurt first, and sure enough, he lives up to all those things.
They know each other very well.
They make a decision that feels very real for four guys together. And that sounds misogynistic. It could be four of anyone together if you're friends. And you make these decisions half-heartedly, or sorry, not half-heartedly, but you make these collective decisions without knowing what the stakes are. You know, yeah, all right, we'll cut through the woods in a country we've never been to, in a forest we've never set foot in.
What could go wrong?
Exactly. What could possibly go wrong? With equipment that's fresh out of the box that we haven't broken in yet. You know, like, it just, but the stupidity rings so true to me and my friends. If I put myself and my friends in that situation, I'm like, 1,000% we would have done the same thing.
Yeah, and died. Yeah.
And one by one.
But I mean, it's very much like Gilligan's Island, right? It was only supposed to be a 3-hour tour. And I think that's what he said, literally. Like, yeah, we'll be there. We'll be back at the lodge in 3 hours as opposed to 14 hours. So, like, I get whatever. I get the whole, you know, point of they were trying to do it, but, you know, again, it quickly goes south. So I think now we should dip into, you know, they're now in the woods. They're going forward. They see the dead, you know, whatever it is, a moose or a deer. And then they come.
Oh no, that was a bear in the tree.
What's a bear?
Yeah, that was a bear.
See, that's either way, it was a huge animal that, like, not.
And it's still jumping.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, let's get away from it further into the woods. And then they come across a shack, right? Because now it starts raining. So they're like, oh, we need shelter, but let's just break into the shack. Yeah. And then, so now I would say this is really, even though, like, we can sense the dread, like, because we just, you know, whatever, because of the forest and the dead animal. But now the one night in this shack really changes their demeanor changes, like, because they're still trekking on and they're still being guys, they're ripping on each other, you know. It'll be fine, you know, stop being a wuss, you know, that, you know, testosterone. Yeah. But it does quickly change after one night in this shack.
This also plays into that, and you know, forgive me, Sinners, I have to make it, I very much have to make it a male dynamic because it is four guys, and there's nothing stupider in the world than four guys. Nothing. I speak from experience, you know, but you do have to factor in that I don't want to be the one who kind of, you know, wusses out. There's that to it. Now, the stakes escalate exponentially. Like, we get way beyond, like, I don't want to be the chicken in this, and I don't want to be like the softie. We blow past that very quickly in this movie because they very quickly get into a sense of we're in trouble here. Like, we've bit off way more than we can chew, being kind of like weekend warriors, and, you know, we're out for a laugh. They're in the sauce now, you know. They have no idea where they are. They have no idea how to get out of the woods. They don't even know what direction to go in. Hutch does take kind of like the pole position, like, you know, all right, let's make, and his decision-making skills are pretty sound. You know, like
Yeah, he was the one that kept saying, like, I think he said Southwest. He's like, we just have to go Southwest.
yeah, keep going southwest. And then
Right there.
he's
Like,
also the one who assesses, like, was it Peter or Philip? I think it was Philip. You know, Philip's got new equipment fresh out of the box, and his feet are kind of fucked. Dom can't even walk. You're the healthiest one. I'll watch these two guys, and you just keep going southwest and bring back help. Like, he's at least the one who for the most part realizes what kind of pickle they're in, and instead of just like aimlessly walking and having their resources and their energy diminish and diminish and diminish, he's like, look, we'll stay here and you go. And it's good. In theory, it's a good plan. I mean, it goes to shit immediately, you know, because
can't even make it the night.
no, I mean, look, to be fair, all plans go to shit immediately when a Norse god is involved, when a Norse demigod gets involved, you know.
Yeah, we got to get into that soon.
So look, we might as well get into it now. We have the night in the shack where they come across the pagan deity relic statue. They're immediately like, well, it's either frying pan or fire. We can't go out. It's pissing rain. We can't go out there. We have to stay in this galactically haunted house. And all four of them suffer nightmares and delusions to one form or another. You know, Hutch Pieces Pants has a nightmare. Dom has a nightmare. Luke is marked by the beast, literally.
Literally.
Philip is now almost like a convert and is praying to the statue naked. And, you know, this is where the movie tips over from like, okay, we were getting very far away from the lad's holiday and the escalating stakes into it fully tips over into now we're in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I love.
Yeah. Well, because also, too, we're still in the moment of, okay, there's a lot of weird things going on, but we still don't really know what we're dealing with.
No, which I love as well.
Yes. And then it starts giving hints where, again, like, you know, the huge animal impaled in the trees is very heavy, large, and very high up. So you're just like, what the fuck could have done that? But then Luke, you know, I think their second night they tent up, you know, right? And then Luke, you know, hears growling, feels something large coming. I think after another vision or dream of the liquor store incident. And then all of a sudden, Hutch's tent goes just yeah. So now we're like, okay, now we're dealing with something that can fucking lift that. No problem.
It's just and you know, because my very good friend, some say best friend, Emily is probably listening. This is, we are ticking the box on our folk horror elements. You know, we have got a rural location. We have got isolation. We have now got, paganism, like artifacts of paganism. You know, we're going to now have sacrifice. Like, okay, we're there. We are there. And then, like I said, my favorite thing in the world is when you layer in a creature feature on top of that. It's just like chef's kiss.
Absolutely.
So everything at this point escalates pretty rapidly as far as like being in the woods. They leave the shack. Hutch is killed and disemboweled, and they
in the same way.
Exactly the same way. They find him. What I didn't realize until my watch just yesterday was that it's very purposeful what Modor, the offspring of Loki, what that creature is doing, because they fully realize that they're being hunted. But what Modor is doing is he's corralling them in a certain direction so that they could end up with the with the acolytes.
Right. Yeah. Because there's very much, other people in the woods, which they come across footprints, and then finally they see a fire. Right. I think they start heading towards that, thinking it's civilization, and you're like, oh.
Shannon, you know what we missed though? The one part that I want to talk about. A huge little clue is laid out for us when when Hutch is still alive and the four of them come across submerged tent, they see a little fabric on the ground. They start pulling it.
Right.
They bring up an entire tent. There's a boot inside, and there's a wallet, and the wallet's got a credit card that expired in 1984, and there's a family picture there. I have to go back and freeze frame. I do believe that the picture of the family, the wife, is the wife that tends to Luke and Dom, not the old woman, the younger blonde woman. Because when you become like an acolyte of Modor, he stops your pain and you're aging.
Right.
So I think it's the woman. I have to go back and try. I think that's the woman.
I think you got a good point there. So I think I had it in my head that it was, if I remember correctly, there was a little girl. It looked like a standard family of four, like like the picture perfect, heart family. But I think I assumed it was a little girl grown up, but it wouldn't make sense if it was the wife. Actually.
It could be the little girl grown up, because this isn't like a vampire where you bit and you don't age a day. I mean, they're just saying it's slowing down the aging process.
Right.
You may have it. I think you're right though. That little girl, because the picture is three people, and then the girl is off to the side. Modor picks the one like the outcast, the one who has all the trauma. I think he nailed it.
Most subjected to succumb.
Yeah.
To worship, I think, right? Like, oh, let me take all your pain away and just worship me. Yeah, that's it. That's all. That's all you need to do. For how long? Oh, forever.
I wonder if it's like, if you leave the forest, because you could. I mean, Luke leaves the forest and escapes. But I wonder if those people that basically sell their soul to Modor, I wonder if they leave the forest, if they immediately aged almost like a vampire. Can we say possibly one of the coolest creature designs in the last 10 years?
I mean, I loved it. Especially when you look more into it and where she is, utilizing the elements of the woods. It's if you really look into certain nature documentaries and certain actual creatures that utilize certain things to their advantage, or just their way of life rather, it was really, really smart the way they did it.
It was crazy good.
Yeah. And just how menacing it how menacing it is. So just a couple of examples. So obviously I camouflage kind of goes without saying, because there's many times where you can kind of see her moving through the trees, but the way she's, camouflaged and I think there was moss and stuff all along her back. So she could be lying down and, it was hiding in plain sight, if you will. So many animals have that. So that kind of goes without saying. But there is something interesting. If you ever heard of a butcher bird?
No, what's that?
They just look like cute little birds.
They don't have another little bird that comes out of their head and it's like
with the arms and everything,
with glowing eyes.
So no, they look like regular birds, but they do take their prey after pecking them to death, and they impale them.
That's insane.
On a stick, barbed wire, anything that's they just take it and just shove it on there, and it's supposedly it helps them, if you will, it helps them, eat their prey a little easier, I guess. It's kind of like a fork.
That's so creepy.
But it's not far out there of something getting impaled by something else.
And just like the when we get to the scene with Dom, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but when we do get to the scene with Dom where he's going to be sacrificed, and they do show the trees right there, and there's all these old, desiccated corpses on all the trees.
Yeah.
How long has this been going on for? And then when Luke breaks into their little storage closet, and there's like muskets there and World War II rifles. Like this has just been going on. It makes sense. It's been going on, since like the dawn of time, as far as Mordor is concerned. But it's just so creepy and so delicious, and I love it so much. Just the dread of it. So let's pick up where we left off, though, just with our like body count, so to speak. So we got Hutch dead, and then Philip shortly is sacrificed not that long afterwards. And then Luke and Dom do make it to shelter. I mean, they find these like this pathway with the torches lit up, and it leads them right into the shack where they're knocked out, chained up in the I guess waiting room, sacrificial waiting room. And then the pieces start to kind of fall into place, because the woman taking care of Luke, not Dom, because Dom hasn't been chosen, but the woman taking care of Luke shows that she has the same marks as well. The younger blonde woman who comes in, the same marks as well. So it just seems like the method of Mordor is to choose the one who has the most, I guess it has the most trauma, because that one, I guess by proxy, will be the one that kind of falls in line as like
we were saying before, like it's the most damage, therefore that if she takes their pain away, because that's what everybody else says, like you'll live without pain, and all you have to do is just worship and fall to your knees in honor of her, and she, you'll never, well, I don't know about growing old, as we see from the older community, like
I'm so messed up,
so creepy,
all messed up.
yeah. And this is when like living forever may not be all that it's cracked up to be.
Yeah,
and it's like, is that really how you want to spend your life? Like, ugh.
So I love what you're saying about the one who's most damaged and the one who actually needs to like have that taken away from them. It is the complete antithesis of someone like Sergeant Howie from The Wicker Man.
Yeah.
So steadfast in their belief and so sure of themselves, and will, even when faced with catastrophe, is still calling out to their God. By the way, there's a little callback when Dom sees Mordor and starts screaming, "Oh my God!" It's very, very Sergeant Howie. So I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the opposite kind of person is much more pliable, to worship at the feet of the hooves of Mordor. So now we're starting to get a sense of, okay, this is it for Luke. He's going to be one of them here. Mm-hmm. Dom gets sacrificed, which I thought that the whole process was pretty fascinating. They chain him up, or they tie him up to the post, and then who walks out of the woods, though? It's, he gets a little taste of Mordor's of godlike abilities, because it's his wife comes walking up. So Mordor's projecting what Dom most wants to see at that moment, which is his wife. Mm-hmm. But being a prick on ice, Mordor then, as she's caressing Dom's face, then takes that, away, and then he gets the full Mordor
vision
right there. And then the camera work, though, of Dom being picked up and then being brought to the tree. And I mean, this is slowly being moved along and then impaled on the tree. Camera work and just the direction on these scenes, it's just so good. It's so good.
And it finally shows somebody else having a vision. And because I feel like there's some people in the community, in the horror community, that kind of questioned, like, like, how can she do this? So if you look back, like, so they say that Mordor, she's a bastard child of Loki, and supposedly Loki had many children with his I forgot all the names, so forgive me, I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce them correctly either, because I'm not
Bert.
I'm not huge into Norse myth. I know there's Bert, there's Ernie, there's How did I forget? But supposedly Loki was married and had children, with through the from his wife, but then he supposedly had many, many, many bastard children. So Modar is one. Um, whatchamacallit, and but Loki is known as a trickster, so it's probably, it makes sense that she could have inherited that trait from him. So giving hallucinations is probably, I mean, well, not probably, it is. It's one of her, it's one of her, powers, that be, if you will.
Wait, Shannon, don't you just love that? Okay, so Mordor is this, is a good deity, a half god or whatever you call it, but her powers are confined to that one specific area. She cannot go out into the light.
I actually was going to ask you that. Do you think she could leave, or do you think by the time that we fast forward to Luke, because Luke decides to fucking I'm getting the fuck out of here. No, he sees the worshippers, he lights them on fire, and he's just he punches the old lady in the face. Not that I want to condone that, but it was
the most real part of that entire scene is when Modor comes down into the doorway and he's like, fuck this, and runs through the wall. I'm like, that looks like a cartoon character. That is exactly what you would do.
I want to go towards it. Fuck that.
And I do, to answer your question, I do think that your Modor is very much shackled to that area, just like the little commune is shackled to that area as well. I think I think the forest is always and will always be, as long as we keep them standing, a place that cannot be defined.
Okay.
It's mysterious and magical, and it on both ends of the spectrum, in delight and in terror.
Okay.
But it's very much you have to be in that untamed wilderness. And by Luke running out into the light, and I mean very much so into the light, he's off the playing field, so to speak. And at the very end of the movie, he kind of goes over the berm and then sees a car in the distance, and it's back to civilization. We're snapped back into it, like, okay, we could have been in any time. When Luke goes through his trauma and Dom goes through his trauma in that commune, we could have been untethered from time and space. It could have been any eon.
Right.
Because you're just this is folklore. This is folklore. You're in the unknown, which I wish they could condense it into a drink or a drug. I'd take them both, at the same time.
But that's going to be one of my questions. Do you think she actually, did Luke actually escape, or did she let him go? So you're thinking that she didn't let him escape, actually. She was very much chasing him, and then they were roaring at each other.
Yeah.
So it's possible that, I don't know.
I don't know. I think Luke did escape, because I find it hard to believe that Modor would let anyone go.
Yeah.
Curious.
There's another question too that I have for you too, because so by the time Luke does get out, I think everybody back at camp, the eons and eons and eons it took to gain all these worshippers, they're all gone now.
Hold on.
Yeah. So what do you think her fate is now that she has no one to worship her?
Well, maybe that's the point of diminishing returns, where and you bring up a great point, because Luke is able to take the axe and harm her enough to grant him the 30-40 yards it takes him to get out of the woods into the light. Maybe these acolytes, these supplicants, maybe they're like the battery, and we know all the elders up in the attic are burned to a crisp at this point. Luke himself has killed one, if not two, of the acolytes. Modor has killed a few in a rage. So maybe you're right. Maybe without that adulation, who knows? Maybe Modor just kind of floats off into the ether at some point, or there's always going to be hikers. There's always going to be people in the woods. Maybe just
People that takes that shortcut.
yeah. There's always enough people to make really, really bad decisions. So maybe it's just like Chutes and Ladders. You go back to the beginning and you start fresh.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? All right. I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the first one is, have you seen the movie, Not No One Will Save You, No One Gets Out Alive? Have you seen No One Gets Out
I
Alive?
haven't. No, I keep meaning to watch that though.
All right. Promise me you'll watch it this week, because it's the same director. It's David Bruckner, and it's the same author. It's Adam Neville. And it is folk horror as well. Now, this folk horror happens to take place in rundown Cleveland, of all places.
Wait, hold on. I just looked it up, and I think I get a lot of these movies confused. So, well, sure. Like before I commit to that answer, I actually do think I've seen this.
Okay.
Let me see. There was a Spanish girl, right? Was Mason?
That's exactly right.
Okay, and then was she the one that has, not that I'm trying to spoil the ending for the Cinners because we're not really talking about that movie, but is this the one where she has a broken ankle and then the ankle gets fixed?
Yep.
Got it. I have.
So,
wait, I'm sorry. I was thinking of a different one.
So now this movie, of course, look, we've got the same author and the same director, so they share a lot of the same DNA. But after I finished The Ritual this week, I went right into No One Will Save You. That is not correct. No One Gets Out Alive.
No One Gets Out Alive. That's what I'm saying. That's why I immediately was like, no, I never saw it. And then I pulled it up and I'm like, wait, I totally saw this movie. I can't keep up.
I know, right? I mean, listen to us bitching and moaning about great horror movies somewhere. Like, it's too much.
I know. There's so many. Meh.
Feel for us, Cinners. Feel for us. This was such a great back-to-back watch-along because it was almost very different films. Both are great. I tend to like The Ritual. I do like The Ritual more, but No One Gets Out Alive is an underrated gem as well. But they really do share a lot of the same DNA. And in one instance you have Norse mythology, and then you've got Aztec mythology in the other. But boy, oh boy, the payoff at the end,
yeah.
And the creature design, not to give any spoilers, but Cinners, if you haven't seen No One Gets Out Alive, watch The Ritual, go right into that movie. It is a really, really, and again, an hour and 40 minutes, it's a great way to spend, 3+ hours. But
especially
I liked that. I really appreciated the folklore aspect of No One Gets Out Alive, because I love movies that have that in an urban setting. So you really take it out of, take one of those elements away, that rural setting, but it is still very much a folk horror movie. So if you can still make it work, boy oh boy. So I just want to put that on everyone's radar. Check it out. It is written by, I'm going to read the book, by the way. It is written by Adam Neville, and it was directed by David Bruckner. So I mean, I figure, come on, he knows the author. He kind of, he did such a great job with The Ritual. His directing style translates really, really well into the other movie. And like I said, it's just a really, really good watch along. So I just wanted to put that on your radar, but you already watched it. But I want to ask you this question.
Okay, next one.
So we talked about the different, the folklore horror aspect, but did you also get like a Lovecraftian vibe out of this at all?
Once you see the creature, a little bit, yeah.
Right? Kind of like, all right, we've got some elder god, shenanigans afoot here. And I guess that plays beautifully into just folk horror in general. I mean, look, Lovecraft just mined the depths of all folklore, to create his own, offshoot of it. But I got some serious Lovecraft pings off of Modor. Even the creature design but I don't know. I appreciated it. I want more of this. I want more of it, you know?
And I just think it was executed very well because you have to figure like it was probably I'll admit I don't know, I didn't get too much into exactly how it was how it transpired onto the film, but it's I'm assuming it was CGI.
And practical, a mixture.
I'm gonna say it definitely looked like they utilized a mixture of both.
The close-up work was practical, and the full frame was CGI.
Gotcha.
It was done very well.
It was very well done. Yeah, because even when you see her full frame, it's still more of a shadow, and it's just like this is a gigantic fucking moose.
Again, it's the decisions made. It's the economy of storytelling, and it is a very good cinematographer and production designer and director. All those elements coming together, it takes a little bit of the Jaws model of less is more, and just show what you need to, hide it for as long as possible. And when you do have the reveal, it's very impactful, But I just thought that all of that works so beautifully together. So I don't have an answer for this. All right, so we have The Ritual and we have No One Gets Out Alive, which do have creature feature aspects to the folk horror. There's the movie Dagon, which is based off Lovecraft, which is, I think, from the 90s. Maybe early, yeah, I think it is the 90s. But anyway, that's aquatic, Lovecraftian aquatic folk horror creature feature. I want to put together a little list of folk horror creature features, and it's a pretty short list right now.
The one that comes to mind to me is Pan's Labyrinth.
Great. What a well done. Yeah, that is fantastic.
Hell, man. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm like, okay, Devil's Backbone. No, I mean that's more ghosts and apparitions. Huh. Okay. All right. I'm gonna put it out there to the Cinners. If you have suggestions on folk horror, the cross section of folk horror and creature feature, please email us. You can email. Shannon, what's your email?
It's they can email sinfulcuts@gmail.com.
Sinfulcuts@gmail.com?
Yeah.
What's better than that? Or you can hit us up on Instagram, which is at CINFUL_CUTS. Did I get that right?
CINE. I did change it.
CINE. Oh, I didn't say the E? Shannon was very bad. Yeah,
I don't. At one point, I had to put it on for some reason. It wouldn't accept the E, and I had to do a CIN.FUL. But then I went back and changed it, and then all of a sudden it let me do it. So I don't know.
Perfect. So CINEFUL_CUTS on Instagram. Hit us up. Let us know, because there's got to be more of them out there, and I really do want to curate a nice little list there. Okay, sure. It's just two of my favorite things.
Yeah, let us know. I'm sure there's plenty that I actually haven't seen, or there's plenty that I actually did see but I forgot about. Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. I mean, come on.
Because I can't keep.
There's a lot out there, and also, there could be a lot out there, but I want to know what the good ones are. We've been lucky enough that this one is an absolute gem. No One Gets Out Alive, an absolute gem. The movie Dagon, I don't know if you saw it, very good. Stuart Gordon, but it's very entertaining. It's mostly, if not all, practical work, and it's not bad at all. I mean, it holds up okay, for the time. But I just I'm really loving this folk horror month.
Yes, me too.
All right. Do we want to talk about what we're going to do next week?
Sure. I think I hope I have the order correct. I was looking for the list actually before, and I can't find it. But
I can resend it to you. I'll email it over to you. But we have what is one of the hallmarks of folk horror, which is a movie called Blood on Satan's Claw.
That is not the one I had.
You got Witchfinder General?
I do.
Which one do you want?
When you originally sent it to me, I don't think you included a subject. So for some reason, I always have trouble finding it, and I'm like, what the hell is it under?
You seem like you want me to make things really easy for you.
Yeah, apparently, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice.
I'm going to send it to you, but I'm going to send it to you as Apple Brown Betty recipe. Look, you're absolutely right. I think I crossed my wires. I think Witchfinder General is first, so let's do Witchfinder General, and then Blood on Satan's Claw.
Okay.
All right. So wait, this will be posting. This will be posting this Tuesday. Okay, great. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna keep all our other secrets secret for now.
Okay, perfect.
That's all I've got. How about you?
I think that's all I have. You know,
Love
I
listening.
think we're ready to wrap this one up.
Yeah, love the movie. Go watch The Ritual. You won't regret it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
And then
streaming on Netflix. So
streaming on Netflix. Oh, it's so good. And the acting is just, the actors in it are just fantastic. I mean, we didn't mention the crew there, but they knock it out of the park.
yeah, they did a phenomenal job.
They really did.
Yeah, well worth the watch.
All right, Shannon, you know what you're gonna do.
All right, and that's a cut.
Bye, sinners.
I love you.